Alrighty, well, we're gonna do our first dry fit of the intake harness or engine harness. Keep in mind I still don't have a hole in the firewall made, so I still have the stem of the harness that's going to be there, but I want to see how it's going to lay out to the starter and the O2 sensors and the alternator, all that stuff, before I make anything permanent. So let's see how this goes. Okay, here's the transmission harness. That's going to go down the bell housing. There is our wiring that goes to the O2 sensor on the right-hand side of the engine. Here's our O2 sensor wiring here. Starter solenoid wire there. Okay, so this is the stuff that would be going through above the transmission into the cab, the what I call the stem. Still have the ignition coil wiring that I have to still route. I think we're going to tuck the coils down by the inner frames, so we'll see how that goes. This is our mass airflow sensor wiring, so that's going to go over here. And over here is the wiring for the alternator. Clickety click. Compressor, temp sensor. Alternator is going to go over here. Alrighty, there is our first dry fit of the intake manifold. So it is fully plugged in. There's all the injectors on this side. I still haven't done the final wrap on those injectors because I want to make sure that everything's where it needs to be and fits. This is a loop of wire. It's going to go for the mass airflow. There's going to be an elbow that comes along this way, so it'll be secured to the underside of that. IAC, TPS is all plugged in. Alternator's plugged in. That whole injector rail again is plugged in. And then two sensors on both banks, coolant temp sensor, and then the wire for the engine-driven compressor. So all this stuff at the back. The feed on the left is the transmission harness, so that's going to go down the bell housing. I just didn't run it at this point. And then the brain stem on the right is the part that's going to go through a grommet in the floor or firewall for the ECM under the dash. We still have to run our coils, which I believe I'm going to try and tuck down here on the inside of the frame rails. So we'll fit those first, and then I'll run those harnesses. So that's how it should look, more or less, boys and girls. Pretty stoked on that. It looks almost like just the bare intake. Just the bare necessities. Chickity boo, yo.